Well, I thought tonight I might introduce Bob, who's famously known as Bo Berghdahl's father. However, I think by now, by the end of this week, Bob probably knows more people in this room than I do. But there have been so much junk and stuff on CNN, MSNBC, and things about Bo that I just wanted to get Bob up here to dispel some of the mythology that's out there, because he has a very important story, and Bob is a new member of Veterans for Peace, Chapter 46, Monterey. Come on up, Bob.
Good evening. Keep eating. Thank you for your attention. Keep eating. Keep this conference going. This is going to be hard because my mind is still reeling from all the information and the workshops we were in. Louder? All the workshops have my mind reeling. And this is going to be a little difficult. I'm working for some notes here. The 11 bells were very solemn to me. It reminds me of John Donne's poem, For Whom the Bell Tolls, and that's John Donne, not Hemingway. He was quoting John Donne, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Do not ask for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. When the church bells rang out throughout England in the 17th century, they were marking the death of somebody in the community. And when they heard those bells, they knew exactly what they were. Well, the bells are tolling for us as a society if we don't wake up and continue to work on the things that you people have been working on for all these years. You have historic comprehensiveness in this room and around the country that is unprecedented. And that is why you are the ones that my wife and I have asked to support us through this yet next chapter of our lives, a chapter that is now 8 years long since our son enlisted in the U.S. Army. So I want to thank this conference, all of you. I've interacted with some of you, but all of you. This is a conference of comprehensiveness, of comprehensive understanding of very difficult and complicated policy and histories and blowback and death and everything that is involved in understanding this subject. And I deeply, deeply thank you for that. Thank the board. I thank the membership at large. I want to particularly thank Jerry and Barry and Chapter 46 for being my home away from home for the last 3 years. Something that the media completely missed is that my daughter is married to a U.S. Navy strike lead who is now currently commanding the Red Air program at INSOC. Just a little bit of a tidbit about what this family is made of. No, I did go to UCSB, but I'm not just a California hippie. We're a little bit more complicated than that. My wife and I believe that you could probably believe, if you gathered all the facts that you people were fed last year after we had, honestly, the privilege of standing next to Barack Obama in the Rose Garden. And I spoke the words, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, God is compassionate and merciful, because to this family he has been. And it was a miracle that what we accomplished. We chose this group because of your comprehensiveness and your ability to understand this. But I want to thank Shelley, Casey, and Virginia back in the national headquarters, because otherwise I wouldn't have come. They encouraged me so sincerely and so kindly. I know they wagged the tail of this organization. Phil Butler, a friend in need. We were attending the Monterey community, because my son-in-law was at MPS, where he got a master's degree in writing algorithms and crunching big numbers, statistical analysis. But that community in Monterey was such an inspiration to us as a family. What kind of group hug you can be a part of, that I had no choice but to join that chapter and continue to participate. I'm not a veteran, and I don't expect to have credibility and assimilation and respect at all in this organization. But you've given it to me individually, and I deeply appreciate that. My spouse, Janie, and I have taken shelter in this community, and various others, Code Pink, Ray McGovern, Chris Hedges, Democracy Now!, all the same groups that usually come to the aid of families when they've been bullied and beaten. This is a war, and our family is a casualty. It's a war of propaganda and policy. And we stood up against it. And don't miss the obvious, we won. We got Bo back. Despite so much opposition. We raised a young man, Bo Berghdahl, to be a compassionate and virtuous young man, and he is. That's the problem. When a compassionate and virtuous young man refuses to be indoctrinated, who thought Fort Benning was seriously a joke, whose command sergeant major at Fort Benning personally told me, this has been a giant waste of time for Bo at the end of 15 weeks. This is the hardest-minded young man I have ever seen, and yes, he's my son, so I'm biased, okay. But we raised a compassionate and virtuous young man, and this is exactly what the original 15-6 found back in August of 2009, which was done by NCIS, not the Army. They found command culpable of various leadership inadequacies. Just prior to his capture, 3 good sergeants were removed from his platoon because of an incident that was recorded by photojournalist Sean Smith from The Guardian. That led to these disciplinary actions. There was no lieutenant in the platoon, and that 15-6 ended in him being recommended for the missing captured title that he bore on his case for 5 years. He was promoted. He was paid. This is not what you heard on Fox News by the 5 guys who were paid by Mitt Romney's political campaign manager and flown across the country to New York City where they were on the Bill O'Reilly show. You didn't know that, did you? Paid by a surrogate of the Republican Party. Okay, 3 minutes, folks, moving quickly. He was moved across the border 2 to 3 weeks after his capture, and yet the Army was saying they were searching for him for 8 months. Nobody died looking for Bo Berghdahl. He was in Pakistan, and they knew it. Commanders knew it. People with intel briefings knew it, but they were telling the troops on the ground that they were searching for Bo Berghdahl. That's complete BS. Nobody died looking for Bo Berghdahl. That's not what you heard. He has a Bible that he carried around when he was a little kid. It's a Gideon's Bible, so I think it came up missing from a hotel room somewhere. And underlined in that Bible is Psalm 12, where it says, "For the oppression of the poor and for the crying out of widows and orphans, I will arise. I will set them in the safety for which they yearn." That was the Afghan people in the minds of my son. And when he was deployed to Afghanistan and saw what we were doing, he was lividly pissed off and didn't know what to do because this was evidently the mission, what we were doing, which was having nothing to do with the restoration of widows and orphans to the place that they yearn for. And really, does any of American policy do that anymore? That's the character of this family. That's the character of my son. I hope you continue to support us His Article 32 is on 17 September. We're expecting him to go to full court-martial. We've heard rumors that they want him to go to prison for doing the virtuous and compassionate thing, telling the Army that what they're doing by 2009 in Afghanistan was not going to work. Keep fighting. Thank you.